They were men born to rule, not to kneel, not to bleed, and certainly not to die on a battlefield. Yet history remembers a day when crowns rolled in the dust, when kings who believed themselves chosen by destiny met the same fate as the soldiers they commanded. It was a day when power meant nothing, blood meant everything, and even royalty was not spared by the merciless hand of war. This is the story of the day kings fell on the battlefield. For months the land had been trembling under the weight of two kingdoms locked in a conflict that felt older than memory itself. Their banners had faced each other across countless plains and rivers, each clash leaving behind only ruins, widows, and graves. But now destiny had decided enough. The war that began with pride would end with blood. On one side stood King Aldric of the Stormlands, a warrior king feared for his iron will and unmatched courage. His crown was forged on the battlefield, his rule carved through decades of victories. Soldiers followed him not just out of loyalty, but out of awe. To them, he was invincible. Facing him was King Roderic of Highvale, a ruler known for his cunning mind and ruthless strategy. While Aldric inspired fear, Roderic commanded respect. His armies were disciplined, his formations flawless, and his scouts whispered that even the wind served him. He had never lost a battle until today. The battlefield was a desolate plain, scarred by centuries of war. The dawn arrived grey and heavy, clouds hanging low like omens. A cold wind swept across the field, carrying the scent of rain and death. Both armies stood in perfect silence. Thousands of soldiers staring at the horizon where thunder rolled like the growl of a beast. At the center, the two kings rode forward for a final parley. No witnesses heard their words. Some say they spoke of peace. Others say they exchanged only threats. But when they turned back to their armies, both men knew the truth. Neither would leave this field alive. The horns of war shattered the silence. Troops surged forward like tidal waves, crashing into each other. Shields splintered. Metal screamed against metal. Arrows blotted out the sky. The ground shook under the charge of cavalry. The battle became a storm, wild and uncontrollable. King Aldric led from the front as he always had. His massive sword, Stormbreaker, cut through enemy lines with terrifying precision. Soldiers shouted his name as though calling for salvation. Yet even a king can be swallowed by chaos. A spear scraped his armor. A blade struck his shoulder. Blood began to darken his cloak. Across the field, King Roderic fought with equal fury. He moved like a serpent, swift and calculated. His dual blades flashed through the air, each strike an execution. But for every foe he cut down, 10 more rose around him. Dust and smoke wrapped around him like a shroud. As the battle swelled to its fiercest point, fate guided the two kings toward each other. Their armies barely noticed. When the storm's eye opened and the battlefield fell eerily silent around them, Aldric's armor was cracked, his breath ragged, but his spirit burned like fire. Roderic's blades dripped with blood, his eyes sharp with determination. They dismounted, pacing toward one another as if drawn by destiny itself. "You should have yielded," Aldric growled, raising his sword. "And kneel to a tyrant." Roderic replied, lifting his blades. "I would rather die a king than live as your subject." Steel clashed in a burst of sparks. Their duel was not elegant. It was raw, savage, desperate. Every strike carried the weight of their kingdoms. Every parry echoed with the agony of generations. Soldiers stopped fighting to watch their rulers collide like titans. Aldric struck heavy blows meant to break armor and bone. Roderic countered with swift slashes aimed at weakness and precision. They danced in a circle of death, the world narrowing to the ring of steel and the beat of their hearts. Minutes felt like hours. Then the moment came. Aldric's strength faltered. Roderic's blade pierced through a gap in his armor, driving deep into his side. The Stormland King staggered, coughing blood, yet with his final breath of fury, he swung Stormbreaker one last time. The blade met its mark. Roderic's chest armor shattered. The Highvale King fell to his knees, his breath stealing away like smoke. Both kings collapsed onto the blood-soaked earth. Their soldiers watched in stunned silence, as crowns slipped from their heads and tumbled into the mud, symbols of power, powerless at last. Thunder roared overhead. Rain began to fall, washing the blood from their bodies. mingling it together until no one could tell which belonged to which. Enemy soldiers looked at one another with hollow eyes, realizing the war had died with their rulers. On that day, no victory was declared. No banners were raised, no songs were sung. The battlefield became a graveyard of pride, and history remembered it as the day kings fell, not on thrones, not in palaces, but on the same broken ground as the men they led.